Hello, everybody. Hello, Facebook. Hello, YouTube. Hello to my connections on LinkedIn. Now, today's live lunch is going to be a shorter one. We didn't know if we would be able to do today's because we've had so much other stuff going on. But we thought we'd just duck in because after all these weeks of consistently showing up on a Thursday at 12 o'clock on a lunchtime, week in, week out, we just didn't want to create that thing where, like once you've missed one, it'd be really easy to miss another one, wouldn't it? So it's like we talk about consistency is everything. So here we are being consistent. So the reason why we're going to make it a little bit shorter today is it's like a day of webinars and online presentations and live streaming and all that sort of stuff. I am taking part. Can't talk. I am taking part in the UK Recruiter Tech Showcase event today that's happening over on Crowdcast. So I delivered a session this morning about 5 things that you need to do to make sure social media works for your business. I'm doing another session this afternoon at 1:50 p.m. If you're a recruiter, you want to tune in for that. And I'll be talking about basically like how to outsource your social media activity, your marketing activity, basically the how and the why of that. So I'm looking forward to chatting about that stuff. But it's just put me in one of those situations where I can't stop the words coming out of my mouth. It's like everything's just going, everything's going through my brain so quickly, I can't quite catch up. But Amanda, you're in a similar situation because you've spent all day talking so far as well, haven't you?
I have. And my husband always says when I'm being too wordy, and from what you were describing, he says, it's like a machine gun going off, love. There's too many words talking at me. So, yeah, from what you're describing, I sympathise. So yes, I've had a morning of webinars with our friends over at Iconic Offices in Dublin, who are they're so lovely. So if you ever need a workspace in Dublin, do look them up. But this morning I was talking about video content and TikTok. So it was kind of a how-to webinar, how to get confident on video, how to build into your strategy, but also importantly, where it's important to, and then discussing TikTok with them as well.
Awesome. So you weren't here last week, Amanda, but we did talk a little bit about TikTok then. And I don't know if I'm not going to put you under pressure and ask you, although maybe I should. So I don't know if you actually listened to the conversation from last week, but out of interest, like what's like the key takeaway from a TikTok perspective that you shared in that webinar today?
So am I allowed? Can I have 2? Can I come back to you and have 2 key takeaways? So one is, I think we should reframe TikTok from being, in our heads we think of it as a social media platform. I think if people think of it as a video editing and video creating platform, it's there are more possibilities with it. And the other was, I actually said to people, don't use TikTok. So it was a don't use TikTok unless. So because I think there is a very quite niche audience on there. That is, younger demographic. If you can create fun content, engaging content, if you're aiming for like celebrity or influencer status, by all means. But I think for kind of general businesses, use it to create videos that you share elsewhere, by all means. But the demographic is so young, and kind of case in point. So TikTok has been one of the main sponsors of Euro 2020 that's happening now, obviously because it was delayed from last year. So if it's on the ITV coverage, the ad breaks always feature TikTok. The hoardings around the side, they've got the TikTok logo. This is my 7-year-old nephew. He's only just 7. He saw the logo and was like, "Oh, look, TikTok." So he knows all about that. And I know his mum doesn't use it, so he's picked it up from friends. So far and away, it's kind of used by, or kids like it, tweens, teens. And I'll give you a stat because, I feel like I'm not living up to my day-to-day this recently, but 48% of 18 to 29-year-olds claim to use TikTok, but that drops to 20% in the 30 to 49-year-olds, drops again. And so as you go kind of up the age demographic, And for me, so in prep for the webinar that I was doing, I was kind of like, really embrace TikTok and have real play around. So over the last week, I've been on it quite a lot. Yesterday, I lost 45 minutes with barely noticing. Literally, but I was just scrolling through some videos. And I was like, what have I achieved? What have I got out of it? Have I learned anything about a brand? Have I learned anything useful? No, I've seen a load of dance challenges, a heartwarming story about a dog being rescued. So I can see where it fits. And if you are marketing to that younger audience, or you've got, I know, so if you're doing competitions or giveaways, I was like, something you can really show people, it works really well, and you can take that video and use it elsewhere. So that's where I think it comes into its own. So yeah, I didn't want to be nearly negative, but it's not for me.
It's because you're old.
I know.
So seriously though, it's this thing we've seen again and again and again. New social media platform, the kids are on it, the parents follow, the marketers are there, so it's kind of in 2 years' time, in 5 years' time, that audience will change. It's about the creative itself, and I think people need to embrace that type of content. They really, really do. So whether you're interested in TikTok or not, to actually, go and spend 45 minutes. Yes, you're going to have watched a load of crap in that time, but just think about the way those videos are put together, and actually use that in Reels on Instagram. Because like I said, this type of content, this sort of format of editing, I think is massively valuable. I think the most interesting element of TikTok right now is in TikTok ads.
Yes.
Because if you think the demographic of people using the platform, they got money to spend, because they haven't necessarily got bills to pay. Okay, that they've got the disposable income. And so I did see a stat where it was kind of like 70% of TikTok ads actually create purchases. I'll dig the stat out and see exactly how it's worded. So I do think it's really interesting from that perspective. I also think that if you are looking at employer branding, and you are you're recruiting on kind of like a mass level across the UK, then actually doing some TikTok advertising, especially for like graduate recruitment, I think you could do something really, really clever there. Really clever. That's something I've been looking at recently. Unfortunately, we haven't got the geographical targeting in the UK yet to be able to say, London, Birmingham, Manchester, wherever. We can only advertise UK-wide, which makes it more relevant for e-commerce essentially right now. But like I said, just getting that, I think people that have got graduate schemes, or they're looking at going 100% remote, and they want the roles are kind of more junior. I'm not saying let's be ageist, but I think that if you've got things that are more suited to a younger demographic, and you are looking UK wide, I think there's some smart stuff you can look to do there.
Yeah, I would agree. If that's your audience, then absolutely. But if you're a B2B, if you're aiming for for people who are homeowners, parents, us basically, it's unlikely. You've got to go kind of where you would expect people to hang out.
Yeah.
And let's face it, we are far more likely to be on Facebook than we are on TikTok. When
if you want to market to marketers, TikTok, 100%.
If you want to, okay.
Yeah, I think if you want to market to marketers, TikTok's a good place to be right now. There you go. So everyone else has been really quiet.
I'm just listening.
Listening.
Who should we pick on? Jane's got a little bit of a headache, bless her. So it's come to you.
Thanks.
That's kind.
As well, though, Jane, haven't you?
Sorry?
You've had a talking morning as well with me.
I have, yes. I just had an hour and a half meeting with a client that only finished 20 minutes before I came on here. So hence the rushing around and having a headache. However, yes, I've been looking at Facebook group tools, basically. So at the minute, Facebook have got a few admin tools in their arsenal, but they don't do very much. So they're having a bit of a revamp of it. And so they've come up with a new sort of admin home place. And it's got tips and hints and features and all sorts of things you can do in a group, all in one place, so that you can find anything you need if you've set up a new group or you're running one currently. They've also included some new things for moderation as well. So you can stop people posting if they haven't been on Facebook very long. So, if you think someone's just joined the group and joined Facebook to be a spammer, you can sort of say, no, someone's got to be with Facebook for X length of time before they're allowed to post on here. Or you can stop people posting if they break the rules. So if they've anyone who's broken the rules within the last month or so, you can say they're not allowed to post. You can also decline posts that have got specific promo content in them or something. So if you didn't want anyone posting about MLM schemes or fundraising things or that kind of thing, because that's not what your group's about, the machine learning will sort of, look for these things and automatically prevent that post from going out. You can... Something that's in testing, so hopefully this will roll out, because I think it's actually a really good one. It will notify admins if it picks up on a contentious or horrible conversation. So if it sort of thinks that someone's being bullied or that the conversation's going in a horrible direction, in theory, it should notify the admin to jump in and sort of do something about that. I mean, it is in testing at the minute, and it will rely on machine learning. So there's bound to be elements of mistakes or, things that are picked up that are not really a problem. But I think that's actually a really good idea. And the other thing it's doing is sort of along those same lines, but could be used for other things, is limiting the number of times a person can post or comment. So if you say people can only comment once every 5 minutes, it stops this sort of argumentative things getting out of hand because people are just steaming in there with their comments immediately. They've got to wait 5 minutes before they can comment. It gives you that bit of time to calm down. And also it's stops people spamming as well, obviously. And you can also, it's again in testing, see how many times a day someone can post. So you could say these people can only post once a day, or they can post 10 times a day, whatever you want. And you can set that just for a day, a week, or you can say this month, I only want this person to post 10 times or whatever. So, and then the last thing was there's a summary. So you can get a member summary of each member, which will show you how many times they've posted, how many times they've commented, if you've blocked them, if their comments have been automatically blocked, and that kind of thing. So you can sort of really keep an eye on what's going on in the group, and yeah, should help with moderation, because if you're running a really big group, moderating it is a nightmare, basically. So I thought that was really good stuff coming from Facebook.
But yeah, it's really cool. And, there's loads of people that use Facebook groups to run essentially memberships on Facebook. So like we've got the coaching club, there's, 150 or 170, something like that, people in there. It's because of the way the group is used, it's not a noisy group. But then there are other groups where it's just like there's constant communication in there. And I think if you are running something that is a membership that's more community based, and you want to celebrate people for their contributions to the community, then actually being able to see who are the active people, how are they engaging? If it is some sort of membership and you're using the guides and that sort of stuff, have they engaged with the guides? I think it's really going to make Facebook groups like really, really valuable from that perspective as well. Because at the minute, they can sometimes feel a little bit like a dead entity. It's kind of, we just get this pool of people here and we can post to them, but that's sort of it. We can't really get much of an insight beyond that. So I think it's all really positive, stuff. What about you, Emily? Have you got any thoughts on that one?
Not so much on the group. I think it's good, sort of the what you said, Jane, about the member review or summary type thing, because I think that'll be a good way for people to be able to keep track of it, especially if it's in sort of quite simply laid out and quite easy to follow. So I think that's quite good, but we'll have to see sort of how people use it and things, I guess. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, though, I'm sort of taking Data Davies' crown today a little bit. Sorry, Amanda.
Oh, you probably wear it way better than I do.
I don't think so. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Snapchat. So they've released a report. Obviously, it's Pride Month, but this report is around pride and inclusivity in general. So a few stats. Apparently, 3 out of 4 Snapchatters use the word inclusive to describe themselves and their friends, and 9 out of 10 use the word kind. So I thought that was quite interesting. Nearly half of Snapchatters agree that brands should reflect diversity and inclusion, but it needs to be done in a meaningful and authentic way. So I thought that kind of reiterated, I guess, what we talk about with just sort of don't just slap a pride logo or a pride flag on your logo, because it's not very authentic and it's probably not going to reflect very well on the brand. Over half of Snapchatters do research to see if a brand cares about inclusion. 1 in 3 will read a brand's mission statement and values, which I found really interesting because I hardly ever read those. I don't know about any of you guys, but I thought that was quite a high percentage, really. And then it just shared a few tips.
I think some of them be lying.
That's what I was thinking. Do you think that? I feel like if somebody asked me that question, I probably say that I do, but really I don't.
Totally, I do that.
I thought that as well. And then it basically just said how to be authentically inclusive. So it just gave a few tips. So it said donate to or partner with organisations, promote inclusion on a regular basis, not just around sort of Pride Month and dates like that in the diary, and use inclusive language and photos. So yeah, I thought it was quite interesting. Like I said, I don't know if the third one was quite legit, but the other ones I thought were interesting, and I'm sure people have been honest about those. And also the tips really about how to be authentically inclusive, because I imagine there are probably some people there thinking, well, obviously that they feel passionate about it, but they don't quite know how to go about it or how to be authentically inclusive to a consumer or a customer or client. So I think those are quite sort of simple things, but they're definitely things that if somebody were to go and read a company's mission statement or values and it said that they did that, to me, that definitely shows that they're authentically inclusive and obviously passionate about it. So yeah, I thought that was quite interesting anyway. And like I said, I stole Data Davies' crown a bit, but sorry about that.
Okay, Emily Brainbox, you can have it.
Maybe I'll rebrand.
Do you know, it's really funny thinking about your mission and value stuff. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of businesses like that, they have them, they've written them, they might review them every couple of years, or like if they're having the website done, they'll have a quick look over it and that kind of thing. But actually from a marketing perspective, going back and using the language within those mission statements, within those value statements, and kind of using some of the keywords, some of the language from that in your marketing, that's part of what helps to make what you do authentic, because it brings you like all the way through. But yeah, I mean, Amanda, when we're doing copywriting and stuff like that, we're putting that sort of stuff together sometimes for clients, and we're looking at what I would describe as the power words that will really kind of help people to feel something when they're reading that stuff. But what do you think? Do people kind of, does it just like go on a shelf and get forgotten about, or do you think people are using it?
I think so. From a copywriting perspective, things like values and mission statement, that should just be woven through every piece of copy. So even if you didn't consciously go onto a page that was like, here are our values and brand mission, if you were reading kind of their about page, any of their marketing content, you would get a feel for what their values were by the language that was used. So that's certainly what I do, so I will have I'll have keywords in terms of the kind of Google SEO keywords that need to be woven in, but I'll also have what I would call the kind of copywriting keywords, the value keywords. So if a company wants to be positioned as, welcoming, friendly, kind of warm, that kind of really that kind of warm fuzzy, then that's the sort of language that I will build through. If they're a bit more serious and corporate, there'll be lots of professional language, maybe shorter words, shorter sentences. So yeah, it's kind of it should be an ethos that goes through everything. And if a good marketer will do that.
100%. I'm going to pick on Mark now. Sitting there very quietly.
Sorry, my mic's not working, I don't think.
What was that?
Oh, sorry, can't hear.
Oh, so I've got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
If someone was looking at their website and they're just like going off the back of what Amanda mentioned, keywords and SEO and stuff there, concerned about how their site's performing, is it, I can see I'm starting to glitch, aren't I?
Yeah.
Hopefully you're still with me. So if there was somewhere that they could go online to essentially assess the health of their site, how well it's being picked up in Google, what they might, almost get like a bit of a to-do list of things from an SEO perspective, there's so many options out there in terms of websites you can go to where you pop your link in and you get a report back. And a lot of people, if you've got contact forms on your site, you're probably getting like 20 emails every day telling you your SEO's crap and, use this service provider and they'll get you on page 1 of Google. But what's your, like, someone that's in that situation, they're thinking like, I don't know how my website's performing. Where's like the first place they should go to get an assessment that's reliable?
I think that there's lots of different ones, like you said. I mean, obviously you've got various Google tools themselves. So obviously looking at your own analytics. So that would be the first thing. It's still sort of probably astounds some of us that people don't use any stats on some of their sites. Sometimes, we're maybe working with people and we say, can we have a Google Analytics so that you guys can sort of assess what the social's doing? And it's like, what's Google Analytics? So that's the first point of call, is obviously getting something like that in place. And there are alternatives, but that's probably the most common one. And then you've got things like Google Search Console, which will give you again more different information about sort of clicks, mobile health of the site, what's been indexed, that kind of thing. So those are probably your two sort of starting points, I would say. And then you can look at various other tools. HubSpot's got a I don't know how good it is, but it's got I think it's still around, a thing called Grader, which is a very simple sort of tool to tell you some sort of key things, but as HubSpot is owned by Google, if I'm not mistaken, is that right? It's owned by someone, isn't it?
Sure. It is owned by someone, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can't remember now, but I think that again, it's one of those tools where you'll get a certain amount of information, but then if you want to go deep dive, there are other things like we've used Semrush in the past and a couple of other bits and bobs, to get real sort of in-depth information about whether it be our site or a client's site. But I suppose the proof of the pudding is what's happening at the other end. At the end of the day, you can look at stats, but it's what's actually happening. Yes, you can improve things, but even if one of those tools is telling you to improve things, but the actual crux of it is if it's working and getting traffic and getting you leads, then yes, you can always improve it, but that's how you've got to measure it really. What is your objective?
Yeah. And I think in achieving those objectives, it always comes down to two things. So, and I don't think we even need tools to tell us this, right? First of all, it's like, what are we telling people to do to take them through the site? What are the call to actions that are there? How simple, how straightforward, how easy to understand are those? And then it always comes back down to copy. It's like you can have the best possible structured site from a technical perspective. If your copy is crap, your copy is crap. Yeah,
I mean, it's those key things about having enough text on the site. Sometimes you can't always have every page that's got 300 words minimum, or what which is generally regarded as a sort of minimum standard. Yes, that can't always happen, but again, it's tweaking pages as well. So if your site's been up for a few years, have a think about what's on there. Is it actually, like Amanda said, has it got the right words in there? When you wrote it, did it was it working then, but maybe it's not working now? Does it need a refresh? And then just general stuff like blogs and sort of fresh content. Blog doesn't have to be a blog. There are other sort of news or articles that can form a blog, but it's all that fresh, relevant sort of content that Google likes, that will keep you sort of churning over in there.
Absolutely. Anyone got anything to add to that?
I was going to say, I think we spoke about it obviously quite a lot before, but use especially on WordPress or other platforms, but use an SEO plugin as well. So if you've got something like Yoast, you've got an actual checklist in the back of your site to actually see, to help you through the good things that you should and shouldn't be doing. It's red, amber, or green. It's that simple.
I love Yoast. So easy to use. It's like the hardest part, the hardest thing, if you like, with Yoast is like just deciding what the keyword is. What's the word or the phrase for this particular page that, what is it? If someone's searching on Google, this page is going to come up number one on page one. What is that search term going to be? And I think that's the bit that people kind of end up like they go round and round in circles on. But like I said, it's such an easy tool to be able to optimize a page for those kinds of things. Really good answer, Mark, considering you didn't know that's what I was going to ask you. Well done.
Can I go now?
Talking for once.
That's it. I'm done now. That's 2021 live lunch done.
Awesome. Okay, so we said we're going to cut this a bit short. Oh, sorry. Oh, my voice is going. Excuse me.
You need to rest it for your next presentation. Then you'll have to be quiet for an hour.
How bloody dare you? So okay, I know what I was going to say. LinkedIn. So LinkedIn likes you to spend money with them, right? It likes you to use their advertising options or upgrade to like a sales navigator profile or a recruiter profile, etc., etc. So it's really anti external tools that automate things. It's really anti like data scraping, that sort of stuff. And there's a case going on in America at the minute where there's a tool that essentially will data scrape email addresses and names and that kind of thing from LinkedIn. And it's going through court again at the minute because LinkedIn is saying, no, we don't, you shouldn't be allowed to scrape data from our pages. And the software company, software house is basically saying, yes, but it's public information. So what do you reckon? What's your opinion? Should we be able to just go, right, Jane's profiles, we've got her email address. Now we're going to put it in our system and mark it to it. Do you think that should be allowed? Yes or no?
No, not mine.
No,
I don't think it should. No.
No. Not if you've not spit it out. I can't get any words now. Not if you haven't engaged with them in any way. They can't even vaguely use legitimate interest under the GDPR regs. They've literally just scraped your data. I think either that or LinkedIn need to do something to make it non-public so that only people who are your connections can see it.
So as individuals, you've got that control. So you can set that to make it so that whether people see your email address or not. Okay, so there's that bit. If you're going to buy data, how do you feel about that?
Again, that's not legitimate, is it? And also, it's normally crap data. So aside from the legal and moral standpoint, so whether you're allowed to under GDPR regs, buying in data is normally poor quality data. I think build your own list, get your own data. It's so much better. It's that whole kind of flinging mud at a wall thing. If you've got better quality data, you might have less of it, but you'll get better results than if you have a load of data and you're just kind of chucking stuff and hoping that something resonates. So yeah, just don't do it.
100%. And it is kind of like, it's weird that it even needs to be a question. I think it's like, it feels obvious that, just don't scrape data from places. You wouldn't want your data scraped and used. And even if it was, that there was a legitimate interest thing there. Let's say we did a search. 70% of our business is with independent recruiters. So let's say we did a search, we used this tool, we did a search on LinkedIn and we said directors in recruitment businesses with 30 or less employees and we scraped that data and we pushed some email marketing out to them, it would be relevant to them. But the reality is you're never going to get the return on that data that you would if you'd actually built it yourself organically. And I think it's a really interesting case, because we know that the driver for LinkedIn is they don't want you to be able to get stuff without spending money with LinkedIn. We can't export our data from LinkedIn like we used to be able to. As individuals, we have to essentially opt in for someone else to be able to export our email address in that way. So like I say, it's interesting that this case is happening, because we know the drivers for LinkedIn are like commercial essentially, but actually the moral side of it, and is it even the moral side of it? Is it just like actually users wanting their, as a user, I want my data to be respected? It's just like, it shouldn't even be a thing that needs to happen. So, it's like, there's a judge or whatever that's going to be sat at that front of the room that should just be going, duh, yeah. Next case, please.
They should do that in court. I think it would just make so much more sense, wouldn't it? Duh. Don't be stupid. You can't do that. Next.
Don't be a dick. Move on.
Exactly.
Awesome. And then one very, very final thing. I'm sure people are bored and tuned out already. But I was trying to do a video the other day that was very much about, basically, we are looking for people to join the team here at Green Umbrella. And I was trying to do a video to say, like basically how awesome we are and how cool it is to be part of us and all that sort of thing. And I just really struggled to find the right words without it sounding really naff. So that was your cue, guys, to say something really positive about working.
I was going to say that. You asked us to say what it's like to work with Green Umbrella.
I was like, we're really inclusive, and we're really we have a lot of fun. And I was kind of like looking around going, and we're collaborative.
It's really hard because a lot of these things, they just sound like buzzwords that everyone else says, don't they? We're a fun and inclusive team. But one of the things that I always think particularly when we're recruiting for social mediators, is that I love the flexibility. So, to some extent, you can flex around your life rather than kind of flex your life around your work. So if that's important to you, that's a real driver. But also you pick up so much kind of on the job training as well, because marketing moves so quickly. So, if I wasn't part of, just absorbing information from all of you, so whether it was kind of Jane and her knowledge of ads and groups, Emily with her knowledge of Insta, Mark on the web, and just everything else, you just, by osmosis, you just develop your skill set. So yeah,
and then you can add on the end, you'll have a right laugh.
So yeah, there you go. That's the other thing I've been up to this week. So who knows? Paul's just suggested I get you guys to do the video.
Don't like Paul anymore.
There we go. Right, I'm going to call this one to a close because I need to go and get ready for my next session. And yeah, basically kind of regroup, get a bit more caffeine so I can get the energy level back up as well. But we will see everyone for a full length Green Umbrella live lunch next Thursday at 12 noon. And I hope everyone has a fantastic week. Like I say, if you're a recruiter, go and check out UK Recruiters event today. All the sessions they've been live streamed via Crowdcast, and there's loads of stuff from different service providers, so that it's like CRM or like VoIP calls, and like there's just everything a business could possibly need. Everything a recruitment business would need tech-wise, like it's there all in one place today. So go and check that out. And yeah, we'll see you all later. See you next week. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
See you. That was like you all just kind of went.
Programmed.
It's because we've got to do that wave.